Hola mis amigos, en este video voy a hablar un inglés intermedio, claro y suave, así que pueden usarlo para aprender y mejorar su inglés. ¿Están listos y listas? Empecemos pues. Hey everybody, today I am going to speak in a nice intermediate English like this, a nice and slow, clear English that you can use as comprehensible input comprensible, to improve your listening skills in my native language, English. So, what are we going to talk about today? Today, I am going to learn too. You are going to learn English, but I am going to learn about how some things work, cómo funcionan. I am going to learn about some things, the way that they work, that I have no idea. No tengo idea cómo funcionan. But we're going to learn together, okay? Let me tell you the things that I am going to talk about. These are a couple of things that I want to learn about, okay? And we're gonna figure it out together. We're gonna ask ChatGPT, because ChatGPT don sabe todo esta aplicación. Okay guys, wind, viento. Where does it come from? Where does wind come from, right? Do you know where wind comes from? If you know where wind comes from, tell me in the comments, okay? Second, mirrors, espejos. Who makes mirrors? How does that happen? Because glass is clear, it's claro, right? How do they make mirrors to where they reflect, to where you can see yourself? Maybe I'm just tonto, okay? Maybe I'm a big dummy and you guys already know all of this. But I do not have any clue, no tengo idea, how mirrors work. So that is another one we are going to find out. The third that we are going to find out, the third thing that I don't know why we do it, how it works, how it helps, something called leap year. Every 4 years in the month of February, we add an extra day, February 29th, because normally there are only 28 days in February. But every 4 years we add one extra day and we call it leap year. So I want to find out, why do we do that? How does it help anybody? Where did it come from? We will ask ChatGPT. And the last one is something about languages, okay? Because this is a language channel. So last one I think is pretty interesting. It is, how did the language Latin become so many different languages? Because the Romance languages all come from Latin. So we've got French, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, Romanian, and a couple other ones. How did all of those different languages come from Latin? That's what we're gonna figure out last. All right guys, we've got ChatGPT. Let's get some answers. ChatGPT, explain to me in very simple terms, where does wind come from? Okay guys, this is what ChatGPT says. Let's see if we can understand it. Wind happens because the sun heats the earth unevenly. Some places get warmer than others, which makes the air there lighter and rise. Cooler air, which is heavier, más pesado, which is heavier, moves in to take its place. This movement of air from one place to another is what we call wind. Okay guys, you know what? I thought that it had something to do with gravity. Because, you know, I've heard that the moon somehow affects waves, olas, in the ocean. So I thought maybe it had something to do with the gravity between perhaps the moon and Earth. But I did not think that it would be when air gets warmer and rises and cold air pushes it down to take its place. All right, guys, did you know that one? Did you know that one? Or are you as surprised as I am? Okay, guys, let's figure out mirrors. Where do they come from? How are they made? What's up with mirrors? ChatGPT. How are mirrors made? Where were they invented? What are they made out of? Okay guys, how mirrors are made. Let's see if we can understand this. Mirrors are usually made by taking a flat piece of glass and coating one side with a thin layer of metal, like aluminum or silver. This metal layer reflects the light, creating the shiny surface. The metal is protected with a special paint or backing to keep it from getting damaged. Okay guys, so they take glass and they put a small layer of aluminum or silver, plata, and that is what reflects the light. Did you know that there was a thin piece of metal inside glass, or inside mirrors? Guys, maybe this is common sense and I am the only one that did not know this, but I had no idea. Where were mirrors invented? The first mirrors were made in ancient times, about 6,000 years ago, in places like Mesopotamia and Egypt. Those Egyptians, bien listos. These were polished stones or metals like bronze. Glass mirrors with metal backing were invented much later in ancient Rome. Okay, so they have been using mirrors for 6,000 years. So I guess the lesson of that is that humans have always been narcisistas, ¿verdad? Oh, como me veo, oh, tan guapo. Narcissist. People have been narcissists for 6,000 years. And then it says, modern mirrors are made of glass, which provides a smooth and flat surface, and the reflective metal coating, usually aluminum or silver, to reflect the light loose. Okay guys, I learned something there. Next, let's figure out what's up with leap day. What's going on there? Chat GPT, tell me, what is leap day used for? Why do we do it every 4 years? And how is it beneficial? Okay guys, it gave me a long list of stuff, so I think we're about to learn a lot about leap day. Leap day, which happens on February 29th every 4 years, is used to keep our calendario, in sync with the Earth's orbit around the sun. Okay, the Earth's orbit around the sun. Here's why it's important and how it works. Why do we have leap day? The Earth's year is not exactly 365 days. The Earth takes about 365.25 days to orbit the sun. So that extra 6 hours adds up over time. Without leap day, our calendar would drift. Drift means to move or like shift, guys, by about 6 hours each year. In 100 years, we would be about 25 days off, meaning that seasons would slowly shift. Why every 4 years? Adding an extra day every 4 years corrects the drift and keeps the calendar aligned with Earth's orbit. How is it beneficial? It ensures that seasons like spring, summer, fall, and winter, they occur at the same time each year. Agricultural and cultural accuracy. It helps farmers and societies plan events based on seasonal patterns. Okay guys, let me explain a little bit about that last part, a little more simpler terms. So it helps the farmers, granjeros. Now a lot of you guys, I know, I just came back from Colombia. I know that in Colombia it's beautiful all year round, right? Most places. And the weather doesn't change very much. But here, there's snow, nieve, right now there's snow outside. So our farmers, they cannot grow their corn or their soybeans or their potatoes. They can't grow those when there's snow. So they need to know when it's going to get cold and when it's going to be warm so they can plant their crops. Crops is a word that we use to describe anything that a farmer is growing. That's their crops. Their crops can be corn, can be potatoes, can be carrots, whatever. Whatever a farmer is growing, he can call his crops. Okay, so that's interesting. So our calendar has 365 days, but really it takes 365 days plus 6 hours to go around the Earth. For that reason, every 4 years they add an extra 24 hours to make up for that extra 6 hours per year. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot smarter just from learning this stuff. And next time somebody's like, why do we even do leap day? It's dumb. You are. Tonto eres tú. We need it. We need it. Idiota este. Alright guys, now for the last one. How did the language of Latin split into so many different languages? Let's figure that one out so we can be very smart. Juntos. How did the Latin language split into so many other languages? The Romance languages. Give me a detailed explanation. Okay guys, it gave us a whole lot. So let's see. We'll see what we can learn here. The Latin language split into the Romance languages like Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. I knew all those. Through a gradual process that unfolded over centuries, over hundreds of years. Here's how it happened. Number one, the Roman Empire spread Latin. As the Roman Empire expanded, it expanded across Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. Latin became the dominant language to the fall of the Roman Empire, the fragmentation of the Roman Empire. After Rome fell, communication and unity among its territories broke down. Isolation. Sometimes I can't even speak English, guys. Regions became more isolated from one another, and local versions of Latin began to develop independently. Okay, so once, guys, this whole area was the Roman Empire, all right? And for that reason, they were all writing their books and making their laws in the same form of Latin. But when the empire split up, all these different places were no longer one country. They were individual territories, okay? And in each one of these territories, a new culture started to develop, and new slang, new uses of the language started to develop in different ways because they were no longer communicating all together as one. Influence of local languages and cultures. Pre-Roman languages, meaning the languages that already existed in these parts before those big mean Romans came and took everything over. Local languages like Iberian and Spain mixed with Latin, creating different dialects. Later, Germanic invasions. Germanic tribes like the Franks and Visigoths introduced new vocabulary and grammar. Also, geography. Natural barriers like mountains and rivers isolated communities, which accelerated the differences in the languages. It says, by the 9th century, regional dialects of Latin had diverged, to split up, had diverged so much that people from different areas could barely understand each other. They could barely understand each other. Você fala português? No, hablo español. Tu parles pas français? They could no longer understand each other. Wow. Over time, these dialects evolved into separate languages, each with its own grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. So guys, basically, put in simple terms, Latin was spoken over a huge area because the Romans tried to conquer the world, okay? And they actually did a pretty good job because there was a whole lot of territory within the Roman Empire. But when the Roman Empire fell and broke into different pieces, each one of these separate territories was no longer underneath the same empire, okay? They didn't have those same Roman guys giving them laws in the same Roman dialect, okay? They started to make their own cultures, and that started to form the separate languages that we now know as French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. I learned a lot, guys. I hope you did too. Thank you for joining me. Como siempre, muchísimas gracias por ver y nos vemos pronto.